US 287. Yeah. All right, we are looking at US 287, the second longest three-digit odd-numbered US highway, and it's kind of a big shortcut as a diagonal across the Great Plains and Northern Plains. It's pretty cool. Today we're just going down to Denver because the Chiefs are playing the Broncos. We'll be back a couple weeks later to cover the rest of it for the Chiefs playing the Cowboys. Let's take a look at the route. We are going from northern Montana, Choteau, Montana, in fact, and heading down southeast toward Port Arthur, Texas. We're going to be just talking about Southbound 287. Here we are in Choteau, Montana. We begin by diverging from the Great US 89, which we'll see again in Yellowstone, and we are angled toward Helena. Choteau's not a very big town, but it's got a hospital, so that's something, I guess. And we get our first South 287 reassurance shield right here in Choteau. You're watching Control City Freak. This is the YouTube channel where we talk about highways and the places that they're signed to go to. If you dig this kind of content, why not give us a like? And if you really like it, why not subscribe? Yeah, subscribe. We get our first mileage sign here. We're getting Augusta, and then Helena is 102 miles away, so pretty distant, but there's not much out here. They look from 2008 Street View. This was almost my thumbnail. It's pretty cool looking here. And here is the same location with modern Street View. So yeah, no cars, nothing out here. This is the small town of Augusta, the first civilization we hit, and Wolf Creek and Helena will become our new control cities. Along the way, we get to Montana 200, so hey, Derpog, your favorite road. We are just in the middle of nowhere out here. That sign up ahead is just talking about Wolf Creek and Helena. As we near Wolf Creek, we are going to be joining I-15 and becoming concurrent with that southbound. We get our exit for Wolf Creek, and we've been signed for that this whole way as a secondary. It's population 25. Wow. But yeah, there's not much out here, and it's about where 287 and 15 meets, so sensible secondary. I'm jumping us ahead to Helena, so in Helena we are meeting US 12, and we're getting off here. Did an episode about US 12. You can check that out right over there. We will be concurrent with US 12, and we are heading toward Townsend and East Helena. Downtown Helena the other way. And we get a mileage sign straight away. East Helena 3 miles away, and Townsend 32. Townsend is where we split from US 12, and we are now signed for Three Forks and Bozeman going straight. US 12 signed for White Sulphur. And we see here pretty big distances as well. I-90 30 miles away. Three Forks 35, and Bozeman 66. We don't actually go to Bozeman. It's just kind of the way we're angled. We reach I-90, which is the way to get to Bozeman from here, and we're not getting a Bozeman sign, we're just getting Billings. Kind of weird. South of I-90, we're signed for Three Forks and Ennis now. Could probably just switch right to West Yellowstone at this point. We're meeting Montana Highway 2, and we see Ennis and Yellowstone National Park straight ahead. This is where we meet Montana Highway 287, which is kind of weird that you have a state highway with the same number as a US highway in the same state. And we're getting junction Montana 87, not US 87, and West Yellowstone turning left. Virginia City and Sheridan the other way, and not the one in Wyoming, a different one in Montana. Looks like also if you turn right, you get to the Washington, D.C. Metro. Isn't that the same kind of M? And wow, junction Montana 87, junction State Highway, 41 miles away, West Yellowstone 71. We go right next to Earthquake Lake, and this was formed in 1959 after an earthquake caused a landslide that blocked the Madison River. So we got this lake, so that's pretty cool. I was given that information by El Jefe, who also requested seeing Earthquake Lake. Thank you for that request. Nice looking spot. El Jefe requested that with a $5 super thanks or super sticker, which anybody can do on any video. We've got a few videos coming up. You can check the posts or this video description to see what is available for requests next. Being 465 next week, that won't be available. That's already done. The other part of 287, I'm going to record right now, so obviously that ship has sailed too. You can also make requests on the Patreon with a $5 or more membership, and I appreciate everybody who does that as well. We pass a larger lake, which is also from the Madison River. This is Hebgen Lake, and it's pretty nice looking. And we're meeting US 191, the great US 191. I did an episode about that. You can check that out right over there. And we will become concurrent with that as we turn right. We are in West Yellowstone, and we are meeting US 20. That's going to be joining the party into Yellowstone. Although technically none of them go into Yellowstone, and I'll get to that one day. And here's our sign for Yellowstone National Park. Turn left, and all our US highway signage is going to go away. Here is our main gate into Yellowstone. We are still in Montana right here. Right here is where we officially cross over into Wyoming, but there is no signage telling us we have changed states. We're sort of meeting US 89 again. This is the remnants of US 89 inside of Yellowstone. So northbound US 89, turn left. Turning right keeps us on 89, 287, 191, and 20. Quite the murderer's row. Here is the Firehole River, pretty cool spot just right next to this road. And here is Fountain Paint Pot Natural Trail. Nice looking spot. And we pass some geysers that we can see, active geysers going right outside of our window on this road. So that's pretty cool. Remember seeing that when I drove around Yellowstone myself. Great park. Here's our exit for Old Faithful. It is a cloverleaf interchange kind of thing. It used to just be a T junction, and they changed this because of all the traffic who wants to go to Old Faithful. We cross the Continental Divide at 8,262 feet here, and this is where US 20 is going to be leaving us, and we're getting a laundry list of attractions coming up. Going straight, we will just get Grant Village. All the other places are by turning left onto 20. And we pass the Continental Divide once again. This time it's a little bit lower. Here is where we exit Yellowstone National Park, but we head right into Grand Teton National Park from this point, I believe. We are crossing the Snake River right here. And this is Jackson Lake in Grand Teton National Park, so awesome looking lake here. And right here, I believe, is where we're leaving Teton officially. Still haven't seen any highway signage at all here. Not really seeing anything here either, but US 89, 191, and westbound US 26 will be going straight. We will be turning left along with eastbound US 26, and we're heading for Du Bois. This is the Buffalo Fork River, and wow, this is really beautiful driving around here. And right here are the Pinnacle Buttes. I think we might still be inside Teton National Park, but I'm not sure. We're getting to Du Bois here and the National Bighorn Sheep Center, so that's cool. We're still concurrent with US 26 for a ways out of Du Bois, but once we are out of there, we are getting south Lander for 287, east 26 for Riverton. Here is Lander. Lander is 7,500,000 people, so it's quite a lot bigger than anything else we've seen around here. In Lander, we are now getting Rawlins and Rock Springs as our control cities, and that's I-80. I know those cities. Wyoming 28 will head over to Rock Springs. We will be heading toward Rawlins. Even after that split, Rawlins is still a long ways away, 118 miles. Wyoming 220 is a bigger road that we meet out here because it's the route to Casper. It's kind of a big cutoff in Wyoming. We are getting with Wyoming 789 and headed to Rawlins. 789 we have been with so far. Coming into Rawlins, now we're getting 287 bypass, turn left, and south 287 and 789 Rawlins, straight ahead. In Rawlins, we're meeting Business 80 and US 30, and we are following those toward Laramie, and in the other direction, it is Rock Springs sign. And if we wanted to go to Rock Springs, we would have taken the other road. We see the Rawlins Business District is straight ahead over there, and that North 287 is signed for Casper, so that's pretty cool because of that cutoff we saw. We're still signed for Laramie along with US 30. Meeting bypass 287 again, bypass 287 for Casper and Lander, to I-80 and US 30 straight ahead. We've been getting Laramie signs, but now we're getting Cheyenne when we meet I-80, although that kind of makes sense for I-80. Westbound should probably just be Salt Lake City. And once we're on I-80, Laramie is our first primary control city, Sinclair then Laramie. And now South 287 is going to exit I-80 to head north. Weird. US 30 exits here as well. We're signed for Walcott and Saratoga, and if 80 is closed, all traffic must exit here. Why is 287 getting off here? I really have no idea. I understand why 30 does, because it's an alternate route for 80. But 287, shouldn't it just take the fastest route to Laramie? And we see East 30 and South 287 for Medicine Bow and Laramie. So even at the bottom of I-80, they're signing us for Laramie, even though you'd be better off just staying on I-80 for Laramie. And now we're getting Hannah Junction and Laramie. Why? Again, why Laramie? Anybody going to Laramie is going to stay on I-80. Why not have Medicine Bow as the bottom line sign here? Because that's the only place people would be on this road to go to. In Medicine Bow, this does make sense. We're getting East 30 and South 287 for Laramie, West 30, North 287 for Rawlins. We come into Laramie, and Laramie seems to have a fairly lively downtown. And we're meeting I-80 once again. Again, we could have just stayed on it. 287 South Fort Collins is now our thing. Looking from the I-80 perspective, we're getting 287 3rd Street and Fort Collins. Such weird fonts on that sign. And it's a 4-lane road out here, pretty big road to Fort Collins. Welcome to colorful Colorado, our last state for today. Got our sign for Red Feather Lakes. I wanted to point that out just because I went camping there one time when I was driving, long ways. I was in LA and I went up to Olympia, Washington to pick up my buddy, and then we looped back around and stayed in Ogden and then out here camping, and we were picking up our other buddy in Denver. So, good times. Getting pretty close to Fort Collins, 10 miles away, and Denver is on our sign now at 76. We're in Fort Collins, and we parallel I-25 throughout this whole stretch, so signing the next town down is the sensible way to go, and not signing Denver from Fort Collins, because Denver traffic would head over to I-25. We see Loveland is our next control city. And here is downtown Fort Collins. Looks like a pretty cool area. I don't think I've actually driven around downtown. I think we went straight from that campsite over at I-25. Now we're meeting US 34, and we are in Loveland, and Longmont becomes our next control city, as it's the next city down. And in Longmont, we pass right by the Pump House Brewery. This was requested by Stealthy Noctowl because it's a great spot to watch all major sports games. So thank you for that request. Probably too many Broncos fans there for my liking, but looks like a cool spot. After Longmont, our next control city is going to be Lafayette, and we are meeting Colorado 119 right here. Lafayette, we meet Colorado 7, and Broomfield will be our next control city. Again, this all makes sense because if you want to get to Denver, you just cut over to I-25. It's like a mile away, 2 miles away this whole time. Past the Northwest Parkway, which is kind of an extension of E470, and I did an E470 video. You can check that out right over there. And in Broomfield, 287 is going to exit itself, and US 36 is straight ahead. Our next town is Westminster, and there we are going to be turning right on 287 Federal Boulevard, which will take us into Denver. We meet US 36 along the way. We see US 36 signed east for Denver and west for Boulder. US 36 is a freeway at this point. You'd get more downtownish by going straight, but the surface street might be annoying. Now we're meeting I-76. It's not signed for anything, but in this situation, that's fine. And we are now in Denver, so we are meeting I-70, and I-70 is not signed for anything. I should sign I-70 for something. After passing I-70, we pass right by Mile High Stadium, the home of the Broncos. And now we're going to be meeting US 40. I did an episode about US 40. You can check that out right over there. We will be concurrent with US 40 on Colfax Avenue. We get a nice view of Mile High Stadium once again, and we will continue. Meeting I-25, I-25 signed north for Fort Collins, south for Colorado Springs, and that is just fine signage. And Colfax takes us right into downtown Denver, so here is pretty much the heart of downtown. And that will take us to Todd's the way it should be for this half of 287. So let's take a look. All we're talking about is southbound, and I'm going to say it should be Helena, Townsend, Bozeman, Yellowstone National Park, Grand Teton National Park, Du Bois, Lander, Rawlins, Laramie, Fort Collins, Loveland, Longmont, Lafayette, Brookfield, Westminster, and Denver. So a whole lot of Denver suburbs-ish, if you count Fort Collins and those cities as suburbs on there, but those are by far the biggest cities that we pass through along the way. We go through a whole lot of nothing through a lot of that. You may notice I go right from Rawlins to Laramie, and I don't talk about Medicine Bow. That's because if we're really doing Todd's the way it should be is 287 just stays on I-80 like a normal road. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Control City Freak. I had fun. This is a cool road. I'm always interested in 287. We'll be doing the southern half of that for the Thanksgiving game against the Cowboys, and next week we'll be back with 465 in Indianapolis. As I said, requests are closed for all of those. You can check the post section or the episode description to see what is available to make requests if you are so inclined. Until next time, my name is Todd, and keep on trucking.